What's up, people? Lucky here. I'm going to talk about something I think is really exciting. I think that Black Flag's story is very much underrated. I got a couple reasons why I think that. Before I get into those reasons, this is a legendary battle with the twins. Some pointers about how to deal with them. First and foremost, do not get stuck in between them, because they will absolutely demolish you and eat you alive. So use fire barrels. Basically, try to keep one between you and the other. Position yourself well. Follow the tips I gave in my previous video as far as how to deal with Man of War. Second, they will pass you. They'll go down off in the distance and turn around together, and they'll be grouped. It's an excellent time to take advantage of them and pound them with your mortar fire. Okay, so those are my tips. Enjoy. It's a great battle. I absolutely love this one. So on to Last of Us, and I think it's highly underrated, and I got a couple reasons why I think it's underrated. First and foremost, writing for an open world or RPG type game is a lot more difficult. It's much more challenging for writers than writing for a linear game. In a linear game like Uncharted, Tomb Raider, Last of Us, developers and the writers can control the pace and flow that the player approaches. They know that you're going to go from story sequence to story sequence to story sequence, because essentially that's really all that you can do. In an open world type game, is players can branch off. They can go immediately from a story sequence to the next story sequence, or they can wait an hour or a day or a month, for all that matters. And so it's much more difficult to write and keep the player emotionally invested in that type of world than it is for a linear game. And for that reason, on a purely technical level, I think that Black Flag was much more difficult. A lot of what I read from critics, from other gamers, was that they felt divested from parts of the story. And to Black Flag's credit, it's because its open world was so inviting. It was so good. It's like one of the best open worlds of 2013. That and Grand Theft Auto were fantastic places to go out, to explore, to goof off. And so people did that. But then by the time they get back to the story sequence, they weren't as, it didn't have the emotional thrust that it would as if you had followed it in back to back to back pace. For that reason and that reason, I really feel like it should get more points. And then we do that, if you look at the Olympics, when the judges go to judge a performance, like in figure skating, they judge the performance based on the difficulty level of that performance. It's very easy for laymen to sit back and see two figure skaters go out and have a perfectly flawless performance. But we don't know how difficult it is doing what they do. Judges know that, and that's why the scores reflect the difficulty of the performance. How well they did relative to how difficult it was what they were doing, that's what does scores. But in gaming, we don't do that. Critics don't do that. They don't take that into account. All they do is walk away with how they feel and just give their immediate emotional reaction to it. And they don't really sit back and objectively look at how difficult it is to write one game versus the other, or how difficult it is to code basically, say water. How difficult it is to do ocean waves, how difficult it is to render that and write the programming for that compared to, something else. And critics today don't really take that into account. They don't really look at what goes into making a game, and really assess it based on those levels. And it's a little bit unfair. And to me personally, I have to give Black Flag brownie point, because the challenge of writing a story for it is much more difficult. Let's talk about story now. First and foremost, I mean, I personally feel like Black Flag's story was very unpredictable. It was to me, and I really feel that it was. For 2013, I feel like it was probably one of the most, the more unpredictable, better crafted stories of the bunch. I did a video last week about why I feel like Last of Us is kind of overrated. It has a great story, and it's solid across the board. I do feel like it's a little bit overrated. I'll post a link to that video. But I did feel like Last of Us was predictable. Like, you could easily predict what was going to happen. Black Flag, it had some real shocker moments. I mean, how many of you really thought that John the IT guy was going to be the Sage? Or that this guy was going to be standing over you with a syringe at the end of the game? I mean, come on, that was like totally from left field. Nobody saw it. Or Mary Reed was a girl. Okay, maybe somebody saw that one coming, but still, I mean, I think it was a little bit of a surprise for most people. Or Adewale was going to mutiny on you twice. Your crew mutinied on you twice. Or that Charles Vane was going to go completely bonkers and try to kill you over oysters. I mean, these moments were like totally unpredictable. Nobody saw that stuff coming. Nobody. I mean, and I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was really good. It really picked up speed after Sequence 8 and kind of moved on towards the finish. And I thought it was really good. Now, character development too. Personally, I felt like character development was really solid. I got it. I think a fault of it may be that it was a little bit too sublime for some people. That when I read what's out there on the internets about it, I get the sense that a lot of people didn't get it. They felt like he just jumped from pirate to assassin, and that's really not quite the case at all. Really, and to be fair, you shouldn't need it explained to you. Maybe you should, but I don't know whether to fault the writer. Maybe a little bit, maybe not. But either way, I felt like, as far as what his character was about, Edward, basically being descended from Altair, he grew up feeling like he was destined for something great. He had this sense, this intuition that was bigger than he wanted. And being a young man at the time, he equated that with wealth and power, and he did what any young man at the time in England would have done, which was go out to be a privateer. So the story and his journey is really about discovering what his true potential is. It's really for all young men's story, that's really what his story is. And then, so for him, it's about finding what that really means, what that sense of greatness really is. And it turns out it's not wealth and power. It's basically to liberate people, to be part of Assassins, to be part of something bigger, something that has meaning. And that is his journey. And that's why he's so emotionally upset when Mary Reed dies, because she's the one that opened him up to that side of himself that he always knew was there, and helped him, guided him along that path. And I felt like it was really good character development. Most people didn't get it, so either way, I personally think it's a great game. I think it's fantastic. I feel like it's highly underrated. I'd love to hear what you guys think about it. Maybe some of the faults are secondary characters, Adewale, Blackbeard, were they properly covered enough, especially Blackbeard? Did you really get a strong attachment to him by the time he died? Possibly not. I think there's a valid argument there. But on the other hand, I don't know. It's definitely not as good as probably what Last of Us did. The in-game dialogue, especially there's not banter between Adewale and Edward. while they're sailing, probably like there should be, to build character development. That would have been a significant effort on Ubisoft's part, but it definitely would have made the game much better and made the story much stronger. So I see why other games are rated higher than it, but I feel like it's faulted for a lot of things that are really kind of unfair. Either way, I think it's great. I'd love to hear your comments. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Peace.